Trump makes his first public appearance since leaving office. Andrew Cuomo is in big trouble, and House Democrats are now trying to push the Equality Act. I'll be getting into that and more on The William Hall Show. All right, I hope everybody had a great weekend. A lot was going on. CPAC took place. It's a big convention. They had it in Orlando this year. And the reason why they actually had it in Orlando is because Washington, D.C. would not allow for them to have this event. They basically deemed it as a super spreader event. And they said, you are not allowed to do this here. So they basically moved it to Florida, an actual open state that will allow for people to continue these types of events. So as you know, the biggest news out of this weekend was, of course, Trump actually spoke at CPAC. Here's a little bit of that now.
Hello, CPAC. Do you miss me yet? Do you miss me yet? To so many wonderful friends, conservatives, and fellow citizens in this room and all across our country, I stand before you today to declare that the incredible journey we begun together, we went through a journey like nobody else. There's never been a journey like it. There's never been a journey so successful. We began it together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over. We've just started.
So, of course, that is awesome. You know, and of course, we do miss Trump. I miss Trump. I think everybody really misses Trump, and we've been able to really see exactly why we've missed him. And he goes through all of that, of course, in the speech, which we'll be getting to as well. But the first thing he started off with is basically debunking this idea of Trump starting a new party. So many people, I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on Parler, I've seen it all over the place. A lot of conservatives are saying Trump's going to start his own party. He's going to do the Patriot Party. He's going to have the Trump Party, the MAGA Party, is what a lot of people have been talking about. Now, when I first heard about this, my first thought was, I mean, in essence, it sounds really cool. It really does. It sounds like a great idea for actual patriots to get together that really believed in what Trump was doing. The problem is that the GOP is still the vessel in which many voters are actually going to be looking to. So if you start a Patriot Party, I think a lot of people online will join. But those people that aren't concerned about the everyday workings of Twitter and aren't online all the time dealing with these types of issues day to day could care less about a Patriot Party. And all you'll basically do is further split the vote, because everybody that is for this Patriot Party won't vote along with the Republicans that are already in office or vote with them and anyone with an R against their name. You're basically taking away the elections. And anyone who's running under the Patriot Party has a 0% chance of winning any election. And so Trump gets into that a little bit here.
Before, I am not starting a new party. That was fake news. Fake news, no. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Let's start a new party and let's divide our vote so that you can never win. No, we're not interested in that.
And of course, he's correct. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The idea of doing this isn't the best idea. In essence, I get it. I really do. I do understand the reasoning of wanting to do that. I think it's a cool idea. But the problem is that we have a better chance of reforming the GOP from the inside out than we do trying to just split away from it. And Trump is that catalyst. He is the person, the figurehead of the GOP. Now, that may leave a wrong taste in many other Republicans' mouths. Maybe it does. The ones that maybe voted for impeachment, which Trump gladly called them out, of course, in that speech as well. It may not be great for them. They may not like hearing that, but it is the truth. Regardless of whether they want to separate themselves from Trump or not, it's not going to happen. It just will not happen no matter how much they try. And they can continue to pull this stuff off like that, but it isn't going to get them anywhere. Ultimately, it really won't. So I understand that we don't like a lot of these establishment Republicans. I don't either. But we can change that, once again, finding better new candidates to primary these people that have voted for impeachment, that are not on our side whatsoever. We need to primary these people. Do it through the GOP. Let Trump be the one that endorses the new candidates that are actually going to fight for the freedoms that we have in this country. That's what we need to do. And of course, Trump in the speech could not stop himself from taking a few jabs at Biden as well.
Yet Biden said just a few days ago that when he got here, meaning the White House, there was no vaccine. He said, there's no vaccine? Oh, good. Say it again, Joe. Now, I don't think he said that, frankly, in a malicious way. I really don't. I actually believe he said that because he didn't really know what the hell was happening.
So I love this clip here for one main reason, and it's simply the fact that Trump was right about the vaccine this entire time. A lot of people really haven't focused on that. A lot of the news outlets haven't even mentioned that since Biden has been in the White House. But the fact is that we would not have the vaccine today if it wasn't for Trump. Plain and simple, okay? You have so many useless government agencies that oftentimes get in the way. And what these things do is that they slow down production. They make things take so much longer than they really should, like specifically the FDA. It was Trump that was fighting through the FDA to cut all of the weird regulations and things that would have taken so much time. It was Trump that actually was able to circumvent that process and allow for the vaccine to be produced in a much quicker time. And a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. Joe Biden does not want to acknowledge that. Everyone said it would have been impossible. And here's Trump basically saying as much.
Put up billions and billions of dollars, 10 billion, to produce the vaccines before we knew they were going to work. It was called a calculated bet or a calculated risk. We took a risk because if we didn't do that, you still wouldn't have the vaccines. You wouldn't have them for a long time. So think of that. We took this bet. We made a bet because we thought we were on a certain track. But you'd be starting to make them right now. It'd be a long time before you ever saw them. It takes 60 to 100 days to manufacture and inspect new doses. And that means that 100% of the increased availability that we have now was initiated by our administration. 100%.
So I want you to take a second to remember at the debates, they were doing this thing, but it was between Trump and Joe Biden, obviously, and they were going back and forth about this whole vaccine idea. And you had the moderator there basically telling everyone, Trump and all the people that were watching this debate, that there was no way that they would get a vaccine out in time.
Right away, we have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be delivering.
This is the same man
it's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
By Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically, that was, you know that. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out.
Save that clip. Seriously. Save that clip because I have a very good feeling that it's going to be very difficult to find very soon because Democrats don't want you to see that. They don't want you to know that Trump was right this entire time. They don't want you to know that Trump was producing the vaccine way ahead of the trials just so that if it worked, it would already be ready to distribute amongst everyone. They don't want you to know that. What they want you to think is that Joe Biden is solely responsible for this. And Joe Biden, honestly, like Trump said, he probably doesn't even remember what was actually happening this entire time. But regardless, remember that clip. Save that clip because Democrats will tell you otherwise. That it was Joe Biden that somehow produced this vaccine. When in reality, all of the work, everything that was done, everything that has been accomplished so far with this vaccine is due to the Trump administration, and Democrats will do everything they can to take that away from Trump. Plain and simple. Overall, in my opinion, I think it was a very good speech. I think Trump basically got the point home that he was trying to get home, that he is the Republican Party. Trump is the figurehead of the Republican Party, the GOP. It doesn't matter what a lot of other people say. It doesn't matter what the other politicians want. It simply is the case. So they actually did a poll, the same guy that was doing the polling and all that stuff while Trump was actually president. He was doing the polls for CPAC. And he basically showed that 97% of people are still in approval of Trump. And that if he would have run again in 2024, that the vast majority would have voted for him. Second to that would have been Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. But other than that, Trump was still the clear and obvious front runner. Now, time may change that. We have a while. We have almost 4 years to go before something might change. But I still feel like whoever Trump endorses is going to be crucial going forward, not only in local elections, but also in the presidential race as well. Will Trump run in 2024? He keeps alluding to it. So he's definitely leaving, or at least leaving that process open, leaving that possibility open. So only time will tell. But regardless of how and what he chooses to do, I think that CPAC came to a very good close with Trump just laying it out there, being Trump, and he looks great after taking what was probably a much needed break from politics for a while. But we want to see more of him. We want to see what the future of the GOP is, and Trump is clearly leading that charge. Anybody that's standing in that way, anyone that's keeping that from happening or doesn't agree with it, might as well kiss their career goodbye. So if you recall on a previous show, you had Coca-Cola, and Coke went woke. So some people were making the joke, it's like Woca-Cola, but Coke went woke. They did this Be Less White diversity training. And immediately this was just kind of blown all over the place. Everybody that saw that this was happening had a problem with it because it's insane that they're teaching this to their employees, that they're making them go through this training. Once again, being more concerned about racial diversity than to actually care about whether they're doing their jobs well or not, of course. But that actual course was, or at least it was derived from LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a bunch of different resources that employers can use to send to different companies that other companies can use. They can pay to use these different training courses. And they basically removed it. LinkedIn took down that entire diversity training, the whole Be Less White thing. They took that down. It's been removed. It's gone now. So Coca-Cola had already released a statement Tuesday denying that the training was mandatory and not part of the company's curriculum. Once again, it may not be a part of their specific curriculum, but it was definitely something that they had in their curriculum, at least for people to see. It may not have been under the banner. Obviously, it was a LinkedIn course, but still. But like I said, everything that's happening with LinkedIn, with Coca-Cola, all of that is not just concerning because it's Coca-Cola, which is obviously a company of some size, obviously, but it's a concern with other companies. It's a concern with the general workplace environment. That this is even considered as some type of training is ridiculous. So we ought to be more worried about the fact that this was distributed to probably thousands and thousands of companies, but yet we're just finding out about it from Coke. Once again, I'm not a fan of any of this. This Be Less White stuff is ridiculous. It's just not good. It's not good for society. You're teaching a lie. You're teaching a lie, and for some reason making it seem as if it's somehow relevant to what you do on your job, which it completely is not. So a top advisor for the Biden administration is now saying that they need to do everything possible to get these reparations out as soon as they can. In the midst of the coronavirus, what they're worried about are reparations. Now, I think I spoke about this a few shows ago as well, but what this guy is basically saying is that they want to skip this study. If you recall, I think it was Jen Psaki that was talking about it at a press conference. And she said that, hey, look, once we see the study, we'll think about doing this. This guy's saying we don't want to wait for the study. We don't want to wait on that. We're going to start acting now. We have to start breaking down systematic racism and barriers that have held people of color back, especially African Americans. We have to do stuff now. I don't know why they're deciding to push this forward at all. I think reparations is one of the dumbest things that Democrats have ever tried to even approve at all, because it's just so dumb. Do they really think that money solves all problems? Dave Ramsey was talking about the stimulus check, I think it was maybe a few weeks ago. And he basically said, look, if this stimulus check, if any of these stimulus checks have like saved you, like really saved you, then you are in serious trouble, And the same thing goes for these reparations. If these reparations fix your problems, you have many more issues way outside of money and all of that, because it's not going to do anything for you, not in the long term. There's no way that they're going to be able to pay enough money for it to matter. I mean, look at what the government is doing right now with the stimulus checks. How in the world people think that reparations is going to be any better is beyond me. I don't get it. But think back to the Obama administration. I wasn't super involved in politics back then, but if you noticed, Obama never came out and was really talking or pushing the idea of reparations. Isn't that strange? First black president, everybody's talking about him. He never pushed anything about reparations whatsoever. So he actually mentioned last month, he was speaking with Bruce Springsteen, which was the guy featured in the Unity commercial for Jeep, which they had to pull the commercial because he got arrested for a DUI just literally last year. But he was doing a interview with him on his podcast. And Obama came out and said that he would like to pursue reparations for slavery, or he wanted to at the time that he was president, but that the politics of white resistance made the issue a non-starter. Once again, I don't remember him ever talking about this at all, so I'm pretty sure this is a lie, because he never was pushing this. He never was talking about it. Why was that the case? Is it simply because of the fact that Obama knew that it was stupid and a waste of time, and now they're just trying to come up with something that's nice and woke to fall back on? Probably so. But Obama said that he believes reparations are justified, and that there's not much question that the wealth, the power of this country was built in significant part, not exclusively, maybe not even the majority of it, but a large portion of it was built on the backs of slaves. Nobody that lives today, that is alive today, was a slave. That's a stone cold fact, okay? Now, we can go and justify all of the stuff that is passed down through generations, and maybe they were poor because someone else was poor, but that applies to plenty of people. America was never the land of a pick-me-up. America was always the land of opportunity. Think about that. America is the land of opportunity. What that means is that you can come into this country with $0 and become a millionaire. If that's what you're focused on, if money's that important to you and you're looking for a career, you can do it. Anyone can do it. That's what we've been putting forward this entire time. There's nothing in the system that is stopping anybody from choosing to be successful. Look at Dr. Ben Carson. Been around for a long time. Just, broke records. Splitting the conjoined twins for the first time successfully. I mean, this guy is an extremely successful black person. And the left hates him. They don't talk about him. They don't want to deal with him because he's a Christian and he's a conservative. That's why. That to me is sad, because it tells me that they don't care about this stuff. They only care about it when it fits their narrative. And they'll say, well, it's just one person. Look, Ben Carson should be a role model for anybody, regardless of what their skin color is. He should be a role model for anyone, where anyone can say, hey, look, this guy is successful. I can do that too. If he did it, I can do it. There's no excuse in the book for me to complain. But we don't do that anymore. Instead of having these role models, the left wants everybody to be a victim, to blame circumstances that they're in on everyone else but themselves. That is the Democrat dream for America. Not the land of opportunity, but the land of victimhood. They don't want anybody to think that they can actually be successful with what it is. So they say, oh, well, let the government pay you. They'll give you the reparations you need that won't last, by the way. That won't solve any of your problems, by the way. They'll be the ones that'll tell you that you need those reparations, not the opportunity to make a living and a career doing anything you want to do. You're the only person that's stopping yourself from being that successful. They don't want that to happen. So that's really, really ridiculous. So just a quick reminder that I do have a Patreon where you can help support the show here as well. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or anything else like that, please remember to leave a rating, as it does help out the show. The House has passed a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Obviously, this is coming from the House, controlled by the Democrats now, and it's going to have to go to the Senate after this, so keep that in mind. But they're calling this bill the American Rescue Plan. And if you look at what's actually in the bill, you'll see that it has nothing to do with rescuing anybody, except maybe Democrats and the mistakes they made, if you're actually taking a look at that. But if enacted, the legislation would extend the unemployment insurance booster checks, giving an extra $400 per week to recipients until August, which is up from the $300 per week that they were previously getting, and $350 billion for states, local governments, and tribal governments. So that's telling you right there. They're giving $350 billion is basically going to bail out Democrat-run states, cities, and other things that they've completely messed up and are losing money because that's the way that a lot of Democrat cities are. That's what usually happens. So more of this money is going to bail out them, and less of that really is hitting your pocket for stimulus anyways. So the amount that's actually going to funding public health, like not just the stimulus, but just public health in general, is 9% of this bill. 9%. Once again, this is why government is bad at their job, because they can't just help out with one thing. They always have to stuff all of these other things inside of it. They always have to add a laundry list of things that they want to be funded. And yet they could care less about actually giving the majority or most of that money to the American people. I just don't understand why this continues to happen. But once again, I shouldn't be surprised. I really shouldn't, and neither should you, because the government always fails many times when trying to come up with things like this. It's just all this red tape you have to deal with, and everybody wants their piece of the pie added into the bill, and it comes out to being this way. So the actual update on these stimulus checks right now. So under this plan, individuals who earn less than $75,000 per year and couples earning less than $150,000 per year will qualify for the $1,400 stimulus checks. These checks would be provided on the top of the recent $600 checks Congress recently provided, and the latest round of them would cost $422 billion. So we'll see where this goes. Like I said, I don't know if the Senate is going to approve this or not. Let me know what you think in the comments maybe. I'm not entirely sure what the Senate is going to do. I have a very good feeling that they may move this back down to the House with some of this stuff and useless junk taken out of it. But we'll see where that goes, and I'll definitely let you know when there's an update on that. Andrew Cuomo is in big trouble. Okay? I don't know if you've heard about the actual accusations, the allegations that are going on right now, but he's been accused of sexual assault, not once, but twice recently. Okay? Now, we'll have to see what will actually come of all of this. These are allegations, okay? Doesn't mean they're factually correct whatsoever. Now, the Democrats will tell you otherwise, depending on who it is that these women are accusing. But regardless, at least for most conservatives and people with common sense, it's an allegation, so it's an allegation regardless of who it is. So basically, he had to come out and actually deny that he was sexually harassing the two women in question. He does note that he made jokes that he thinks are funny that could be considered as inappropriate for some audiences. Now, he's just saying basically, no, I didn't do that. I just made some jokes that were pretty bad, maybe for some people, and they took it the wrong way and they're saying it's sexual assault for some reason. Well, either way that you take it, once again, what happened to Believe All Women from the Democrats? Now, to their credit, some of them are coming out and saying stuff about it, at least treating it as being somewhat credible. But credible doesn't mean true, okay? And that's very different than how they spoke about these things when Trump was involved. If any other Republican was involved in this, you know how it would be different. But first, the nursing home deaths, and now this. I mean, Cuomo just cannot get a break, right? I mean, not that it matters to me, but the fact is that the guy completely botched COVID-19, the response to everything. Completely botched all of the stuff with the nursing homes, literally putting patients that were COVID-19 positive into these nursing homes, killing at least what we know now are like 15,000 elderly, just based off of his policy alone. We know that, okay? And now these sexual assault allegations. To be honest with you, I'm not surprised by any of this. The question really is, it's kind of like this eyes on Democrats at this moment. Now, there are some Democrats that are calling for impeachment. I don't think that'll happen, but there are some that are actually calling for that to their credit. So Pelosi actually came out and made a statement. She said The women who have come forward with serious and credible charges against Governor Cuomo deserve to be heard and to be treated with dignity. Now, no one denies that, regardless of who it is. But once again, they wouldn't be making this statement if it was a conservative, because they would be saying, well, we need to believe all women. Think about what happened with Kavanaugh. Just think back to Justice Kavanaugh, that whole situation. I mean, they didn't give him a break. There was no, oh, they're credible, let's hear her out. No, everything she says is 100% factual. We must believe everything that she says, regardless of how baseless her accusations are. If she can't remember who was around, who was there, what happened, the events, everything, even though all that couldn't be corroborated, we're going to go ahead and just assume that she's 100% correct in what she's doing. That's the double standard that the Democrats have with these things, of course. We're used to it by now. But once again, this is all fine and good. But we all know that had it been a Republican, it would have been different. Democrat lawmakers have now introduced the Equality Act. This happened about a week ago, but all of this sounds good if you're just looking at the name of it, because you're probably thinking, Equality Act, that's great, right? Everyone's equal, happy, go lucky, it's fine, right? Well, not at all, actually. It's actually the exact opposite of equality, believe it or not. It's equality in the Democrat utopia of what they consider as equality, but not in the grand, I guess, sense of the world, everyone else, the people with common sense. Our rights. You don't have those things under this Equality Act. So what are some of the things that the Equality Act would basically do? So first of all, the Equality Act would force schools nationwide to teach kids that LGBT ideology without parental consent. So in other words, if you have a kid in school, there's no input that you're going to be able to have to them at all about what they should be learning, any of that. They don't care. It's going to become completely mandatory that your kids learn about the LGBTQ and all that stuff. They're going to be told all of this stuff. There was actually a video, this really sickening video, honestly, with a child that was being taught what they were calling the gay BCs. Check this out here.
Is for ally. E is for bye. C is for coming out. D is for drag. E is for equality. F is for family. Uh-oh, we missed a page. G is for gay. H is for hope. I is for intersex. J is for joy. K is for cookie. L is for lesbian. M is for Latin. N is for non-binary. O is for orientation. Very good. P is for hands. Q is for I don't know what Q. That's okay. Q is for queer. Queer. R is for respect.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
S is for sachet. Sachet. T is for trans. Very good. U is for unique. V is for vogue. You know how to vogue? Yeah. You do? Yeah. That was pretty good. Okay, turn the page. W is for wonder. X is for X. Y is for you. And Z is for Zems. Zest. Zest. And what was the name of this book? The Gay BCs. You like this book? Yes. Are you a woke toddler? Yes. Can you say, I'm woke? I'm woke.
Wow. That is child abuse. Plain and simple. That is child abuse right there. There's no reason why children need to be concerned about that kind of stuff at that age at all. None. Zero. But this is what these woke parents are trying to do because they think they're being so good, but they're really just ruining these children. They're really messing them up for the future. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a lot of damaged adults because a lot of parents are dropping the balls on discipline and so busy focused on trying to be woke that they don't even know how to be good parents anymore. Serious problems. So the other thing that this would do is that it would mandate that schools allow biological boys to access the girls' restrooms, locker rooms, and showers. Bad idea. Really bad idea. How is this about equality? It sounds to me like they're just basically telling you that if you have a son, a biological boy, that is in school and they're changing in the locker room, that they need to just deal with the fact that there's going to be girls in there possibly. Doesn't sound very equal to me. So they're also going to require teachers and students to use the preferred names and pronouns of those who identify as transgender. Look, this will be tough for me. I'm not even going to lie. You know, to be honest with you, if they get a legal name change, I don't think most people have an issue with that. They change their name, whatever. There's whatever qualifies or constitutes as a name is subjective. But when you're talking about the pronouns, that's where things get a little tough, okay? That's where things get tough for a lot of teachers. It's going to be a problem for a lot of them. A lot of teachers are not going to be able to do this and are going to definitely get fired for this stuff. There was actually a coach, this was last year at some point. He was kind of the boys football coach, I think a few of the other boys teams at school. He was also the person that would be in the locker room to supervise the kids that were in there, make sure that they weren't getting into a fight, whatever would normally happen in the locker room with a bunch of boys in there. But he was basically supposed to be supervising those boys in that locker room. And the school said, hey, look, there's this new transgender boy, which is basically a girl that's identifying as a boy that wants to use the locker room. So you're going to have to basically watch that child and make sure that none of the other boys do anything towards them to hurt them. And the coach was like, hey, whoa, I'm not going to watch what is a biological girl change because that's ridiculously sickening. Guess what happened to that guy? That guy got fired. He didn't even go as far as to say, I'm not going to call them by this specific name or by their pronouns. He literally just said, I'm not going to watch them change. And they said, you're done. You're gone. He got fired. Ruin that man's career over something as common sense as that. It's only going to get worse from there, though. Let's be real here. So they're going to also require employees to implement strict preferred pronoun policies. What does that mean? Strict preferred pronoun policies. What they're talking about is they're going to have company policy that's going to tell you that if you literally make a mistake and you refer to somebody as a he when they're a she, that you're going to lose your job. How does that make any sense at all? Now, they're also going to compel employees to provide health insurance, they're going to compel the actual employers to provide health insurance to sex reassignment surgery. Why are companies needing to pay for this? I mean, if many of the companies you work for don't even provide birth control a lot of times with the normal insurance, let alone literally a sex reassignment surgery. How in the world is that even? Does that make sense? I mean, what next? Are they going to start funding your or covering your plastic surgery? Like, yeah, doc, I'm going to, get this liposuction thing. I'm going to need you to foot the bill, all right? Like, I need the employer to do that one. That's not going to happen. I hope that does not happen. That is ridiculous. Look, you getting a sex reassignment surgery is your own business, okay? It's a free country. Well, sort of a free country. But you don't get the ability to tell your employer and force your employers to actually pay for this stuff. That's insane. There's no reason why they should be providing health insurance for that. So they're also going to allow men to enter and use the women's public bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers, which of course is a bad idea. You don't want men coming into anywhere near women in a shower, a locker room, or bathroom. That's a horrible idea. They're also looking at allowing males to compete in female sports. Now, this is one of those things that's been happening for a while, and I've covered this before. This is already taking place. This is already happening. They're already allowing for biological men to just dominate females in whatever sport that they're playing in. Now, Here's a little bit of a clip of a young woman talking about that and the issues surrounding why it doesn't make any sense.
I've been training to be a championship sprinter since I was 8 years old. With the help of my parents, my coaches, and my teammates, I did it. By sophomore year of high school, in 2018, I was one of the top 5 female high school sprinters in Connecticut. But then, one day, I wasn't. At the state championships that year, 2 people passed me, passed all of us girls, literally. They finished first and second in our races, dominating the field. Were they more motivated? Did they train harder? I don't think so. But they did have an edge, a big one we couldn't match. They were biological boys who said they were transgender girls. Do you think that's fair? Males competing against females? Before you make up your mind, let me tell you a bit about what it took for me to become a top female sprinter. It meant training with my team every day after school for at least 2 hours, working to shave fractions of a second off of my time in the 100 and 200 meter dash. It meant not hanging out after school or going out with friends on the weekends. It meant getting up early every Saturday morning and competing all day at a meet. It meant not indulging in any of the things that might cost me my dream. And here's the thing about the 2 biological males that took the top 2 girls' medals in the state of Connecticut. Their times were not even good enough to qualify them to compete in the state championships on the boys' team. Let me say that again in case you missed it. Their times were not good enough to qualify them for the boys' state championships. But 2 years in a row, they won first and second place competing against the girls.
Yeah, so this is happening all over, and it really is hard to hear her story about this. If you want to watch the full clip of that, by the way, check out PragerU. They have that up. I think it was posted maybe like a week ago. Check out the full clip on that. It's very interesting. But this is what they're doing to our young women. They don't want them to be able to be successful in these things because it doesn't align with the woke culture. So the other thing that they're going to be doing now is requiring doctors to provide sex reassignment procedures and hormone therapy against their conscience. So in other words, if you go into a doctor's office right now and you're like, hey, I want this particular surgery, and this surgery might be kind of just out in left field a little bit. And the doctor's like, hey, look, you know what, based off of my expertise, I don't think that's a good idea. Okay? Because I don't think they're specifically referring to them being like worried about their religious values in this. I think they're talking about the fact that they're just saying, look, I don't think this is right for you. I think you should wait. I think you should think about it. No, they're saying, nope, just do it. Just do it. Don't let doctors make informed decisions because they're doctors and they have experience making these informed decisions. Just let them go ahead and do it. Don't give them any pushback. Don't give them any common sense talk. Don't recommend something else. If they come in there saying they want something, you give it to them. That's what they're talking about here. There's going to be a lot of doctors getting fired over this stuff too. Doctors that probably have nothing to do with sex reassignment surgeries that are going to wind up having to do these procedures. What's going to happen then? The problem with all of these things and with this Equality Act is that it has to take away the rights of other people in order to boost up the whole trans, LGBT, all that stuff. It has to do that first. So your rights get taken away while they're given the ability to infringe on yours. The problem in the warped mentality is that the left views this as equality, where their woke agenda keeps you from being able to actually run your business the way you want, to actually be a Christian. So think about the religious aspect of this. And many people may say, well, I'm not worried about this. What's the problem with this, right? Well, if you're a Christian, a person of faith, a woman, a business owner, a nonprofit business owner, if you go to school, if you teach at a school, all of these things are going to apply to you. They're going to hit you somewhere if this stuff gets implemented, okay? Think about this for a second. You run a church. A trans person walks in there and says, hey, look, I want to be a preacher. You could get sued because you didn't give them the opportunity to do that and didn't hire them. That's what we're talking about. Shelters for battered women would be forced to accept men, okay? The one place where many women are looking to get away from men, they're just going to start allowing these trans women to go right on in. Sounds like a really bad idea. And if they don't do that, they're going to get sued. They might even get arrested. Prisons would be unable to protect female inmates because they're going to have males, biological males, that are in those prisons with them. Now, they've tried this. It did not go well. It did not go well at all. Men aren't even kind to men in their own prisons, let alone when you stick them in there with a bunch of actual biological females. So biological males are going to be given opportunities, scholarships, championships of female athletes. I don't see how women's sports would survive something like this. It won't. Where are the feminists at? Why are they silent on these issues? That's what I want to know. More religious option or adoption, for example, foster care services and agencies. They will be forced to compromise their own religious beliefs about marriage and family, or just have to shut down entirely. What are they going to do? If somebody walks in there that's a gay couple and they say, we want to adopt a child, and it's this obviously Christian adoption agency, what then? Are they going to get shut down entirely? Are they going to get sued into oblivion? That's why I'm saying this has nothing to do with equality. This is not about equal rights here. This is about pushing an agenda while taking away your ability to live your life with peace or in peace at all. School bathrooms, locker rooms will be open to both sexes freely. That's the way they want to do this. It's going to take and strip away every delineation between male and female in our society today. That's what their goal is. And they call it equality. This is not equality because nobody is denied a right to something right now. They look at things that they think are rights and they call them rights, but they're not a right. You have no right to adopt kids if you're a gay couple from a specific agency. There are plenty of other places that they could go. This is like that baker, if you recall that whole story, where he wouldn't bake this trans coming out, whatever it was, cake. And the guy literally said, hey, look, I'll provide the services to you. I will bake you a cake. I'm just not going to bake you a cake that's about that or representing that. It's no different than if I were to walk into Publix right now and ask them to bake a cake and write on it a bunch of curse words on it. They're probably going to tell me, we're not going to do that. Right? They're not going to do that. It's profane. I can't sue them because of that, because that's their policy. They're allowed to do that. If I want a cake that way, I'm welcome to go somewhere else. I am. I should be able to go wherever I want, wherever I please to go. I can do that. But that's what they're trying to do with this Equality Act, is take away your rights, take away the ability for you to have a normal life and have religious convictions and be able to go to church and believe in something and do something a certain way. They don't want that to happen because they want to force you, not allow you, but to force you to bring these people in. And if you try to do anything about it, you're going to get sued, which is a horrible idea on its face. And hopefully this doesn't pass. This had no real weight before because there was no way it was going to pass in the Senate. Now it's up in the air. It might wind up passing. So be on the lookout for this. If it does, I will let you know for sure. But I'm hoping that enough people realize how dumb this is and it never goes through at all. With that being said, thanks for watching or listening to this show, and I will see you on the next one. You just watched an episode from The William Hall Show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.